All right, students, let's get started with our notes tonight. Now we're not gonna take notes over all the graphs that we have glued in, just a few of them. So the first one we're gonna talk about is your circle graph, or sometimes you hear it called the pie chart, and that compares parts of the data to the whole, part to whole. So fractions are really good. And one whole is 100%. So a half a pie would be 50%. And quarter of a pie would be 25%. Now remember, a fraction is a part to a whole, so a part over a whole. And to turn a fraction to a percent, first we have to go to a decimal by using either benchmark fractions or Tybo. And then we have to turn that decimal to percent. Okay, so you might want to revert back to your converting notes. Okay. Pie chart does not have to do with time. Okay, it's just part of a whole. Okay, next let's move on to the.
Hang on, let's write that down. Does not show change over time. Okay, next one.
All right, let's do frequency table.
All right.
No, let's do stem and leaf. Okay, we have a stem and leaf plot. Now, all of those numbers to the left of that line are called the stem. Okay, and all the other numbers are called the leaves. Okay, so looking at the key is super important. That says the 6 with the is the stem and the leaf is 1, so that means 61 years old. So in this case, the stem represents the tens place and the 1 represents the ones place. Okay? So on the key, the stem can also have more than one digit. Okay, so it could have the tens and the hundreds place. This one is good for place value. We use place value here. Again, you heard me talking about the tens and the ones place and the hundreds place. Now, when you are building your stem and leaf plot, okay, your leaves are going to go in order from least to greatest. And you must include all values. So for instance, if we didn't have any 60s, but we had 70s and 50s, we would still include the 6, but no leaves. Okay, so this would reads 75, 60, 60, 60, 62, 67, 68. Okay, so it's a condensed form. Can you imagine writing all of those numbers out in a line? That would be a lot.
That would take forever.
So we make a stem and leaf plot and it condenses it. It makes it smaller. Okay, it looks a little bit nicer. Okay, so let's move on to frequency table. Okay. How many times a number happens? Okay, remember that we talked about in class that frequency was the number of times that it happens, okay? So this display, it shows how many times data values or an event occur in a set of data. So how many times it happens. So for instance, we've got age 3. What is the frequency of age 3? So what I'm asking you is, how many kids are 3? 2. Okay, and then what is the frequency of students that are 10. 5. Okay. Moving on
Bar graph.
to the bar graph.
We've seen this one before.
Remember? Okay. So we're doing a bar graph. Okay. It compares amounts or categories. Miss Garcia, have you ever seen one that has two different bars next to each other? One color and another
have.
color?
I have.
Okay. So this one is a single bar graph, but it's possible to have a double bar graph. And if you have a double bar graph, then you're going to have to look at your key.
So then here it might have a key.
So it might have a key, it might be a double bar. So the way that you read it, it just says that red is 20%.
Of the
Yep.
candy.
Green is 10%. Okay. So right there where it says percent, it might not say percent. It might say dollars. And then right next to it, it might say in the millions.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really important to read all of the labels,
They're super important.
okay, in any of your graphs. Okay. Ms. Garcia, do you think it's also important to know where the X and the Y axis are in this graph?
It is important to know where the X and the Y.
Okay.
Because usually the categories go on the X axis,
Mm-hmm.
and then the numbers go on the Y axis.
Okay.
Which
so
one is the X?
X, I believe it's the one that goes horizontal.
Yeah, this one, because the X walks, and the Y, its hands go up, so the line goes up and down. Yeah, it looks silly, but those are hands, by the way, just in case you're wondering. And these are feet.
Never seen that before. But hey, we learned something new.
Yep.
Okay.
Your kids are gonna remember it. So
Let's-
y'all tell Miss Gomez that y'all remember it, because Miss Garcia taught you.
Got little hands and feet.
Done. Yep.
All
Line
right.
plot.
Line plot. All right. It uses a number line.
Mhm.
I have to include all of the numbers, right?
You have to, yes.
So it has to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7, 8, 9, 10. I cannot skip a number just because I don't have that number.
Right, because if you look at a number line doesn't skip numbers.
Okay.
So I like to draw a line right here to help me remember that it's a number line.
So I could also ask, what is the frequency in this question?
You could.
Because I could say, what is the frequency of number 2? Or what is the frequency of number 4, which is
Mhm.
1? Okay. I remember you telling me that it's not always going to be X's.
Right. We can use X's, or what else do you feel like using?
Could it be a dot?
We use dots, yeah. So use X's or little dots to show. But the important thing with line plot is that sometimes it can get really messy. So make sure whenever you're drawing your X's, you see how nice and neat they're stacked up here to where they match.
Right.
You want them to do that because if some are skinny and some are tall, then they might look like they're the same height. And you're going to be like, oh yeah, they have the same frequency, but then they really don't.
Do students get the line plot and the line graph mixed up a lot?
With the name, they do. But, I mean, if you think about it.
So what I told my kids was, the line plot, X marks the spot.
Oh, I like that. Let's write it down. X marks the spot.
In the line plot.
X marks the spot in the line plot. Good. I like that.
You're not the only one who has little tricks. All right, I got this too.
All right. I see. It's a
Oh.
competition now.
Yes. Okay. Line
Line
graph shows the change over a period of time. So right here, what you're going to want to know is like increase, decrease.
Increase, decrease.
So, like for instance, from February to March, it increased,
Increased.
and then from March to April, it decreased. So you might want to also be able to tell the range. You know, okay, what is the range from the highest to the lowest month?
Mm-hmm.
That's the 45, and then the 15, and then we subtract because that's how you do range, and we get 30. Okay. All right, got nothing else to say about that. Oh, wait. Also, over here on the side where it says inches, again, it could say in the thousands or in the hundreds. Okay, so looking at all of your labels is super important because, for example, if it said the thousands, okay, so it wouldn't be 30, it would be 30,000 as the difference. Okay, so those are super important things to, to know. Okay, anyway, moving on.
Pictograph. It's got picto in it.
It's got pictures.
Pictures. Little houses. So
Keys
cute.
are also important.
Oh, yeah.
Because if
Super
I asked how
important.
many houses, Mr. Jones had, and you weren't looking at the key, you would say 2 when he really has 4. So keys are really important. Labels are super important. That was easy.
I agree.
Okay. Moving on.
Box and whisker.
We're not going to do that one. I need you to know that the variation is the difference, though, okay?
Variation is the difference.
And the notes are over.
Dunsies.
Bye.
Good night.